Hi, and welcome again to Old School Sports Parenting. My name is Mike Brusco. I'm a former college athlete, public school teacher, coach of youth and high school sports, and parent of 3 former student athletes, 2 daughters and 1 son. As my channel title suggests, I take a very practical, no-nonsense approach to this subject, and that means often defying current wisdom. My thoughts, I'll remind you, are mine and based on my own experience, and my goal is to promote some healthy discussion about this subject, which is kids, sports, competition, and being a parent in the middle of all of it. Today we're going to talk about fundamentals of sports parenting. We all know that fundamentals are the building blocks of success in sports, but they are equally important in parenting a competitive student athlete. So in this video, I'm going to list 5 fundamental behaviors that we as parents can use to help us help our kids be more successful in competitive sports and have more fun at the same time. These tips are about as old school as you can get because they cut right to the heart of what makes a lot of today's sports parents so full of unrealistic expectations, so emotionally invested in a lot of stuff that really doesn't matter much, and also so hell-bent on protecting their kids from even the slightest disappointment. So let's dive in, okay? Fundamental number 1, trust your kid. Let him or her make athletic decisions on their own. If you feel that he needs guidance, frame it in the form of open-ended questions. Don't say stuff like, your coach is giving you the shaft, you should be starting ahead of Jack, or something like that. You may think that's motivating to kids, but all it really does is reinforce the self-pitying that they're already starting to feel. Instead, just ask him, how do you feel about your role on the team? You know, what would you like to be doing more of or better, or something like that? And if he's unhappy, don't instantly assume that he's getting shafted by the coaching staff. Make him be specific when he answers your question. You know, because I'm better is not a reason he should be starting ahead of somebody else. You know, what does he do in practice to prove that he's better? I know it's hard to be hands-off when you feel like your kid is getting slighted, but you know, unless it's a matter of health and well-being, try to fight your natural instincts to be a protective parent. And you might be surprised to find out that your kid is happy with his current role on the team, and if he is, back off. You know, as long as you're okay with it, that's fine. You know, if you want to talk, I'm here to listen. And that should be the extent of your involvement. So, I mean, no sense, you know, creating trouble. Don't kick a sleeping bear. If he's happy, let him roll with it. Fundamental number 2, solve your kids' sports problems at home. You know, if he's unhappy with his role on the team, challenge him to work harder and get better. When he's one of the best players on the team, he's not going to have to worry too much about his role. You know, and a commitment really to excellence is the only way to get to that point. I'm not being naive, okay? I know that there are politics in sports among coaches. I've been on staffs. I know how this works. But your kids' work habits are the only thing you can control, that you and he can control. The coach bashing won't cut it. I mean, all that does is reinforce a bad feeling in the first place. You know, when you whine about favoritism, you just sound like a sour grapes, poor loser. Persevere, all right, in the face of it. That's the best way to gain the admiration of the rest of the players on the team and even the coaches. That's the value system you want to teach your kid, and you need to do that at home. It can't happen during the season. Your son or daughter needs to be raised with those kind of values. Fundamental number 3, teach your kid to put the team first. It doesn't matter how many yards or goals or hits or strikeouts or wins or pins or aces your kid has. It's about whether the team wins or loses. If your kid isn't helping the team win, his accomplishments are shallow. They don't mean anything. You need to remind him of that. And how do you do it? Well, the simplest way is by phrasing your post-game critique. And by the way, I know you do it. You know you do it too. Phrasing it in team terms. Good phrasing sounds like this. You guys didn't really play that well today. Why do you think that was? Bad phrasing sounds like this. Well, you guys sucked, but you had 30 points, so they can't blame you. And again, we've all been guilty of that latter kind of phrasing. It does no good. It distracts from the kid's focus on the team, and that should be his focus. Fundamental number 4, speaking of the team, as a parent, root for the team, not just your own kid. We've all seen these parents. When their kid is in the game, they are totally glued to the field or the pitch or the court or whatever. As soon as their kid comes out for whatever reason, it's as if the game stops. They're checking their phone, they're scribbling notes about how horrible the coaching is. They're making small talk with other parents in the stands. If you're one of those parents, I have news for you. Everyone around you knows your act. Fundamental number 5, probably the most important of all and the most difficult to achieve. Hold your kid 100% accountable for his own success or failure. How do you do that? Well, before you complain that he was cut or benched or suffered some other indignity at the hands of his pathologically deceitful coach, ponder a couple of questions, okay? First, does he use his spare time to put in extra work and get better than the kids ahead of him on the depth chart? If he's sitting on the bench and then spends his spare time on social media and playing video games, he's failing himself and he's got nothing to complain about, and neither do you. Second, has he demonstrated in practice that he can help the team win better than the kid ahead of him or the players ahead of him on the depth chart? If he phones it in at practice, instead of looking for every opportunity to get up against the players ahead of him and compete against them, again, he doesn't deserve more playing time. He doesn't deserve any playing time at all. That's not how competitive sports works. All right, third question maybe to ask yourself, is the team doing poorly with your kid in his current role, whatever that may be? I once had a parent call me after a football game that I coached, and he was complaining about telling me how much better our defense would have been if his son had started at linebacker as well as at running back. And I reminded him that we won the game 14-0. How much better would our defense had been than giving up 0 points if his kid had started at linebacker? That was the end of that conversation, as you can imagine. Anyway, I hope you find these tips helpful. Leave your thoughts in the comments section, and let me hear about any old school sports parenting fundamentals that you think should be added to this list. Thanks again.